What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Course Correction Radio. And hopefully, as you guys can see, we have a camera going. We're going to try this a little bit differently. So, I am shooting with the DSLR. I'm recording the audio separately. We're going to see how this goes. Let's see, it's 2023 right now. I believe it was right at around the start of 2021. Might have been late 2020. We started a series called Likened unto Moses. We got about 9 episodes in, and there's just so much going on. We had tea and scripture. We had the news show going on. There were so many different things going on. We were in the process of switching to Substack, and the original plan had been to take like a month off from that, and there was just so much going on in my erratic brain that we never got back around to recording those episodes. And while we're not going to be able to do this whole thing on video, I did at least want to come up here, give our introduction to it, and go from there. Because if you read this book right here, and as you can see, I've got it open where I'm already getting ready for this next one. This next one's going to be fun because, we had How to Be Born Again. Well, the study that I'm working on now is going to be called Salvation Belongs to, or however it was in John 4 where he says salvation is of the Jews, right? That's what it is. I don't know why that wasn't coming to mind, but that's what we're going to be talking about. Salvation is of the Jews. What does it mean? What was the relationship with the Jews and the Samaritans at that time? Because let's just do a little pre-study, shall we? Let me find my Bible. I got it right here. Because this is what Matthew Henry says on the subject. So, we're going to start John chapter 4. So, we're going to go ahead and break it down. Next week, we'll get into the historical background with the Samaritans, where they come from. Because, guys, this is where that bloodline study that I told you, I had actually been planning on doing that separately. I got into studying this, and I realized that they're going to go together perfectly. So here's what we're going to do. So let's get into this real quick. So when, therefore, the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now, Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water, and Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away to the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Then I want to read a note real quick, actually, from this, just to give you guys. This is, by the way, this book is Life and Times of Jesus the Messiah by Alfred Edersheim. This is honestly, if you really want to go deep into what the Jewish mindset and the Jewish culture was in the day of Christ and how Christ related to that in his ministry, especially if you're like me and you've come out of the Hebrew roots movement, then this is a must buy. This will not only make the scriptures come alive, but you will start to see right through the lies of the Hebrew roots movement and the sacred name cults and Messianic Judaism, all of this stuff, you'll see right through it. So this is what he says. The expressions, the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans, which is what we just read in John chapter 4, verse 9. That's what we just read. This is what it says. The expression, the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans, finds its exact counterpart in Megillah 2 in this. May I never set eyes on a Samaritan, or else may I never be thrown into company with him. A rabbi in Caesarea explains as the cause of these changes of opinion that formerly the Samaritans had been observant of the law, which they no longer were, a statement repeated in another form to the effect that their observance of it lasted as long as they were in their own cities. Matters proceeded so far that they were entirely excluded from the fellowship. The extreme limit of this direction, if indeed the statements applied to the Samaritans, is marked by the declaration that to partake of their bread was like eating swine's flesh. This is further improved upon in a later rabbinic work, Yalkut 2, page 36d, which gives a detailed story of how the Samaritans had conspired against Ezra and Nehemiah, and the ban had been laid upon them, so that now not only was all intercourse with them forbidden, but their bread was declared like swine's flesh. Proselytes were not to be received from them, nor would they have any part in the resurrection of the dead. But there was a great difference between all the extravagance and the opinions of the prevailing and the opinions prevailing at the time of Jesus. Even the rabbinic tractate of the Samaritans, it is admitted that in most of their usages they resembled Israelites, and many rights and privileges are conceded to them, for which the heathen would have been excluded. They are to be credited on many points. Their meat is declared clean if an Israelite had witnessed its killing or a Samaritan ate of it, their bread, and under certain conditions, even their wine are allowed. And the final prospect is held out of their reception into the synagogue when they shall have given up their faith in Mount Gerizim. Now see, we'll get in, like I said, we're going to get into more of that in the future. But I just want to show a little bit of, Edersheim goes into great detail about the relationship between the Jews and the Samaritans. And there really was a back and forth because for the most part, their food was declared clean. Their land was declared clean. He goes into all of this, but at some point, and especially, right here, there was this issue of there was this animosity, if you will. Now, the reason I want to get into this is because of this right here. We're in the book of John where people are constantly, asking, later, just a few chapters later in John chapter 10, it says this. And this is what I want to preface it. This is really what we're going to get into in this study. So, and it was at Jerusalem at the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter, and Jesus walked in the Temple of Solomon. This is John chapter 10, and we just started in verse 22. In the temple in Solomon's porch, verse 24, then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, how long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. And Jesus answered them, I told you, and ye believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. Now, this is because in Jesus did, through his works, through his teachings, he all but declares, without coming right out and saying, I am the Messiah. He was trying to get them to understand the spiritual truths and make the decision, right? It's one of those gatepost things. It keeps out the ones who aren't supposed to be in, but those who have eyes to see and ears to hear will hear it. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So let's go on. Excuse me. John chapter 4, Verse 10, and Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that said to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? And Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go, call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast is not thy husband. In that saidst thou truly. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship what ye know not. What we know. You worship what ye know not. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will teach us all things. Jesus said unto her, I speak unto thee, I that speak unto thee am he. Now, this is what I want to get into so much, because when we really break down, what does it mean salvation is of the Jews? See, the Jews had the entire Tanakh, and I've got it right here. So this is not the edition that I wish I had, but so far it's the only one I've been able to find. This is the 3rd edition of the Biblia Hebraica. Now, this is put together by Rudolf Kittel. Now, if you've heard of the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament, that was put together by the editor of that was Gerard Kittel, this guy's son. So, but see, Kittel was a textual critic. He had written 2 editions of the Biblia Hebraica. Let's give you a little history lesson. And the first 2 editions were done with the Ben Chaim text that the Daniel Bomberg Bible, that the King James was based off of, was based on. But he wasn't a big fan of those, and he had been trying to get his hands on a copy of the Leningrad Codex, which at that time there were 2 known codexes. But the Leningrad Codex, I think at this time, was the oldest that was known. It's from like sometime in the 1000s. And this is the 3rd edition. This is what that's based off of. And then this is the one that this Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia right here later was based off of. But the reason I'm pulling it out is this is the Tanakh in its Hebrew order. You have your Torah, you have your Nevi'im, prophets, and then you have the Chetuvim, the writings. Tanakh would be like an abbreviation of that. And so but in the law, the prophets, and the writings, you get the full totality of messianic prophecies. See, the Samaritans didn't have that, and we'll break this down next week. Over here off camera, I mean, there's just books scattered everywhere. I've got, my Smith's Bible Dictionary right here. As you can see, Volume 4 is missing. That's the one that the Samaritan Pentateuch will be in. I've got the Jewish New Testament commentary over here, because we're going to contrast what Edersheim says with what David H. Stern, the author of the Jewish New Testament commentary and the translator of the Complete Jewish Bible, says. We've got Matthew Henry, Bible History, Old Testament. We've got the complete works of Josephus. This is going to be a big study. And we've also got the Zondervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary. We're going to go through all of this because we really want to understand that what has happened here was the northern tribes of Israel were replaced by outsiders that got mingled in with the Jewish and the northern Israel bloodlines, but they had that corrupt priesthood teach them, and the text had been corrupted to say that they should worship at Mount Gerizim. Now, they didn't have any of the prophets. They only have, if you've heard of the Samaritan Pentateuch, it's exactly that. It is only Genesis through Deuteronomy. There's no vowel signs, no nothing, and that's how they corrupted the text, by the way. So they didn't have the full picture. The Jews, for all their faults, actually did have the safeguards of, the prophecies that led to Messiah. And that's why Paul in the book of Romans talked about how the oracles of God were given unto the Jews. That's what he means there. So he's talking about this Paul and Jesus, once again. I know this is a surprise to you guys, not. But once again, Paul and Jesus are on the same page, right? So, we'll go into all of that. And it's going to be an interesting study right here. Sorry about that. I forgot this camera automatically cuts off. So over here on my tablet, I have the notes of John Chrysostom pulled up for this part of John chapter 4. And that's literally everybody that I've read, this is what they talk about. So we'll go into all of this to understand that really salvation is of the Jews has everything to do with the writing. And, we'll go over where the Pharisees, where John the Baptist talked to the Pharisees. He said, think not to say that you have Abraham as your father, because I tell you that he could make sons of Abraham out of these stones, right? See, we need to break this down because the note in this passage, salvation is of the Jews, in the Complete Jewish, or the Jewish New Testament commentary, says that Christians need to get in touch with their Jewish roots. No, Jews and Christians need to get in touch with their Jesus roots. See, this is the thing where the Jews, for the sake of David, and really for the sake of Abraham before that, see, the promise was made to Abraham. The promise was given to Isaac and Jacob. Later, David was told the Messiah would come of his line. So for the sake of those obedient servants, the oracles of God were given to the Jews. See, God is not a respecter of persons. This has absolutely nothing to do with Jewish roots, Hebrew roots, anything like that, because God can make sons of Abraham out of the stones. Now, what I find interesting, and what we're going to look at too, is, John the Baptist came in the spirit of Elijah, right? Now, Elijah took 12 stones, one for each of the tribes of Israel, and built the altar that he later called down the fire for heaven. I think that's an allusion to something like that. I think that was literally the spirit of Elijah, that same prophetic mantle, and that was a, kind of a context clue for those of us who are studious to find. This is going to be such a fun study, guys. I am totally stoked. I cannot wait. But with that, I'm going to end this video here. Keep a lookout for on our podcast page. Like I said, we're going to do this. We're going to do this kind of watch party, or I guess it'll really be a listen party of the 9th episode of Likened unto Moses to get ready for the 10th episode release. Guys, keep us in your prayers. It's been a wild week, but Sarah and I really want to try to get in the studio this week if we can. If she's been super tired with the work she's been picking up lately. Her business is exploding, so praise God for that. But she has been she has been super tired. So just pray really hard that we can get this show done and get it out to you guys, because I'm so excited about it. By the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, last community post we did the prologue for the second season of Tea and Scripture with Trey and Sarah, so can't wait. The next, we're going to be doing episode 0, The Way of Wisdom, really breaking that down, getting into, the mindset of who wisdom is, how she relates to us, and how that's going to help us with the first episode with Purge of Preparation. So looking forward to that, guys. I'm going to hop off of here. You guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. We will catch you, hopefully. And guys, make sure, head over to the Substack page. Link is going to be in the description of this page, so that way you never missed a post over there. Guys, there's a comment section. We have a chat if you download the app. So we can really make this a watch party. I'll post when the episode's going up, and we can just hang out in the chat and talk together. I'm looking forward to it. Hope to see you guys there. Like I said, have a fantastic Sabbath. We'll talk to you later.